Today, we're going to be reacting to Asian story. Now, as you guys know, we already reacted to his story right here. But today, we're going to be reacting to Asian story. I don't know if this guy is going to do like every single race. Maybe he's going to do Mexican story next. But we're going to see. Now, he only has 1, 2, 3, 4. He only has 10 videos posted. And he only started 3 weeks ago. And he's already at 50,000 subscribers. And look at the views that he's getting on his shorts. Oh my goodness. But without further ado, let's go. Let's see how good these videos are, because his story videos are bangers. Here we go. His first ever video.
I handed my dad my report card. He stared at it, then walked into the garage. A few seconds later, I heard metal scraping across the concrete, and something heavy slammed into the wall. I stood outside the garage door, too scared to open it. The only thing on my report card was 1B. Up until then, I'd never gotten anything below an A. That night, I barely slept. All I could think about was what my dad was doing behind that door. The next morning, I finally opened the garage. The
What's in there?
table was gone, and so was my paddle, the one he'd given me when I was 6. I looked through every closet, every cabinet until I spotted it, sitting on my dad's shelf. I reached for it, but he stopped me. "You're done playing." I looked at him.
Oh my god. All because you got a B? Bro, a B is a good grade. What?
Because of 1B? He didn't answer. And for months, the table stayed gone. My paddle stayed on his shelf. And after a while, I stopped thinking he'd ever change his mind. So one night, after I heard him snoring, I crept into his room and I grabbed the paddle. And for the first time in months, it was back in my hands. And then I turned it over and there was a name carved into the bottom. My dad's? I froze. This wasn't my paddle. It was his. The next day, I went back into the garage. And behind the shelves, I found an old box. Inside were dusty trophies. Then pictures of my dad, about my age, holding the same paddle, standing beside those same trophies. And
he's a world champion?
at the very bottom was an old report card. 1B folded inside it was a note. "No more ping pong until your grades improve." I just stood there staring at it. That's when I understood. My dad wasn't angry. He was terrified I'd end up just like him. That night, I found him sitting alone in the garage. I held out the paddle. He took it and ran his thumb across the name carved into the wood. I asked, "Did you ever miss playing?" He looked down at the paddle and smiled. "Every day." And after a long silence, he looked at me, then quietly said, "Help me set the table back up." We played our first game together, and this time, neither of us kept score.
Hey! See, that's a happy ending right there. So his dad was just afraid that he'll become him? I mean, the dad seemed nice. There's no problem becoming your dad. All right, so first video was already a banger. Let's see the next one.
I put on my headset, ready to game with my friends.
Oh, hell yeah.
I realized it wasn't my friends I was hearing. It was two men, mid-sentence. "The store closes at 10. The other replied, "Good. The owner's son usually stays behind to lock up." My hands froze because my parents owned a store. Just a few minutes away from my house, they had a Japanese restaurant. And every night after school, I helped them close. I leaned closer to my headset, and then I heard the back entrance doesn't have a camera. My stomach dropped. They weren't talking about some random store. They were talking about mine. I immediately messaged my friends, "Get online right now." Within minutes, 4 of them joined my lobby. But that was my biggest mistake because I heard the sound coming through their mic. They heard, and my heart stopped. The voices on the other end went completely silent. Then one of the men said, "Did you hear that?" Nobody spoke. The other man replied, "Someone's listening." My entire body went cold. They knew. I instantly disconnected the call. I called my parents, no answer. I called again, nothing. I grabbed my bike and raced toward the store. The entire way there.
Why would you go to the store? Why would you go to the store?
I kept telling myself I was overreacting. Maybe I misunderstood. Maybe it wasn't my store. But when I turned the corner, I saw the front door wide open. The lights were still on and something was wrong. Shelves had been knocked over. Glass was scattered across the floor.
Oh
the
my
cash
god.
register was open. But the strangest part was that nobody was there. No customers, no employees, no parents. I ran behind the counter calling their names. "Mom, Dad," nothing. Then I noticed something on the floor. Footprints. Fresh, muddy footprints leading from the entrance straight toward the back room. I slowly followed them. My hands were shaking. When I looked back, I realized something. My own footprints were everywhere, going in and coming back out. But those footprints only went one direction, toward the back room. Whoever
Now, I'm not a genius or anything, but I don't think you should go in that room.
made them never left.
Oh my gosh, so they're still in there. They're still in that room, so just leave. Just leave. I don't know what happened to your parents. Hopefully they're okay, but just leave.
Every lunch, I opened my mom's homemade dumplings. Before I could take a bite, the bully pinched his nose. "Your food stinks." Then he knocked my lunch onto the floor.
Oh, hell. See, listen. There's one thing that you don't play around with, and it's a guy's food, bro. You play around with his food, you're asking to get knocked out.
Friends laughed. The bully looked at me. "What are you gonna do about it?" I looked down, picked up every dumpling, one by one. Then I said, "Not yet." The next day, he dumped my lunch into the garbage.
Bro, come on, dude. Like, come on.
What about now? Not yet. A week later, he shoved me into my locker. His friends surrounded me. "You gonna fight back?" "Not yet."
Bro, what's with this not yet? Not yet. You are not in an anime, buddy. You are not going to get powerful and then fight back. You are not in an anime. Relax. Not yet. Not yet. Are you charging your powers? What do you mean not yet?
They laughed even harder. Months passed, everyone thought I was scared. What nobody knew was every night I'd wake up and see the kitchen light on. My mom still wearing her work clothes, folding dumplings long after midnight. She had work the next morning, but she still made them every day. Before the sun came up, I was training, running, lifting, learning how to fight. Because every morning I remembered those dumplings lying on the cafeteria floor, and I trained harder. Then one Friday, he grabbed my lunch and threw it away before I even opened it. I looked down at the dumplings sitting in the garbage. He laughed. What? Your mom can just make more. Then he leaned closer. It's not like she has anything better to do. For the first time, I looked him in the eyes. After school, he stopped laughing. What? You and me, we're done waiting. He smiled.
You are not in an anime, my friend.
You better call an ambulance. You're gonna need one after this. By the final bell, half the school.
Oh my, okay.
He stepped into the circle.
Cinema.
He finally grew a spine. I took off my backpack and set it on the ground. I didn't say a word. He charged and threw the first punch, but I could see them, the punches. Before they happened, left hook, I ducked.
Bro, you are not Itachi, my guy. What do you mean you can see them before they happen? You do not have the Sharingan, my friend.
Right hook. I stepped aside.
Damn.
Punch. Missed.
Damn.
Another miss.
Damn.
Months of training made everything feel slower. The crowd started cheering. The bully got angrier. He swung harder, faster, but he couldn't touch me. Then he stopped. He looked around and grabbed a brick. The crowd went silent.
A
For the
brick?
first time, I stopped moving because I realized dodging his punches wasn't enough. I had spent months learning how to avoid getting hurt, but if I didn't stop him, someone else would get hurt next. He charged, holding the brick above his head. I waited until the last second. Then I stepped forward and threw one punch right on his jaw. The brick fell from his hand. His eyes rolled back. His body went limp. He hit the pavement. I looked past him at every friend who laughed, who shoved me, who mocked my mom's cooking. One of them laughed. What are you looking at? I looked past him. Not you. The ambulance. I called for him.
Okay. Cool story, but you're not in an anime. Oh my goodness. I can see the moves before it even happens. Okay, buddy.
My dad stood up in the middle of the audience and walked out. I'd never seen him leave a competition before. My brother never showed up. Nobody knew why. Not even me. Every time my brother missed a note, my dad would stop him and say again. Sometimes he'd spend 20 minutes playing the same 10 seconds over and over. Then, the moment he finally got it right, my dad would smile. That's my son. Every competition, my parents sat in the front row. Every trophy went into the cabinet above our fireplace. Sometimes I'd stand there imagining one with my name on it. I wanted to learn piano too.
It just said Asian on it. Okay.
Not because I loved music, because I wanted my parents to look at me the way they looked at him. Then, one afternoon, a second piano arrived. I couldn't stop smiling.
Bro, is this stereotypes? Because as you guys know, I have a friend named Reki, or if you guys don't know, we have a channel right here, which you guys should go and subscribe to. And he's also Asian, and he also knows how to play the piano. Is that like something, like a stereotype? Asians know how to play a piano?
I thought, finally, this one's for me. But my dad never called me downstairs. Days turned into weeks. The piano stayed untouched, except by my brother. Every afternoon, he practiced 4 hours without missing a day. Whenever I walked toward the piano, he'd stop me. Dad said, I'm practicing. Then he'd close the door. Eventually, I stopped asking. Until years later, I finally asked my mom, why didn't dad ever teach me? She looked down, then quietly said, the day the second piano arrived, your dad told your brother, now both my boys can become pianists. Your brother looked at him and said, if he has to practice, I'm done. Your dad laughed. He thought your brother was bluffing. He wasn't. He skipped the biggest competition of his life. Then he refused to touch the piano. Days passed, then weeks. Your dad begged him to play again. Your brother only said one thing, you'll have one pianist or none. The next morning, he said,
wow, why is the brother so greedy? Why can't both of you guys just play the piano?
I back down and practiced for another 8 years. I looked at my mom, but why? Her eyes filled with tears. He knew exactly what those 4 hours felt like. He wanted you outside, riding your bike, playing with your friends, having the childhood he never had. That's when I looked at the trophy cabinet, and for the first time, I didn't envy it. I understood, but every trophy had really cost. My entire childhood, I thought my brother had everything. I never realized he gave it all up so I wouldn't have to.
Oh my god. He took the risk of becoming a pianist so you can go have fun. W brother.
Every Tuesday, my math tutor waited outside my school. He was always there 5 minutes early. Rain, snow, it didn't matter. Every lesson ended the same way. He'd pat me on the shoulder and say, I'm proud of you. I always thought
that's a little weird. Is that not a little weird for a teacher to do?
that was a strange thing for a math tutor to say.
Exactly.
When I got a question right, he smiled like he'd won something. And when I got one wrong, he never got frustrated. He'd just say, let's try again. One afternoon, I asked him, why do you care so much? He looked at me for a long time, then said, because I know what you're capable of. He never
They always say that.
explained. After every lesson, he stood by the front door of his old rundown house, watching me walk all the way home. Only after I
watching you walk all the way home. Is that not creepy right there?
Disappeared. Did he go back inside? I never understood why. Then, one day, halfway through our lesson, I asked, "Can I use your bathroom?" He nodded. Second door on the left. While I was washing my hands, I opened the top cabinet looking for paper towels. But when I went to open it, something fell out. A photograph slipped onto the floor, and I picked it up. It was me, maybe 3 years old, sitting on someone's shoulders.
Is he your dad?
I turned it over, and on the back were 2 words, "My son." My heart stopped. I walked back into the living room holding the picture. "Why do you have this?" The color drained from his face. For a moment, he didn't say anything. Then he quietly said, "I always wondered how long it would take." I stared at him. "What are you talking about?" He pulled out a chair and slowly sat down. "I wasn't always your math tutor. I'm your father." I couldn't speak. He looked at the photograph. "The accident took your memories. The doctor said the surgery would cost more than I could ever afford. The only family who could save you wanted to adopt you. So I
Wow.
signed the papers because losing you was better than burying you." I felt my eyes fill with tears. "Then why didn't you tell me?" He looked away. "You finally had the childhood I always wanted you to have. I couldn't take that away. So instead, I settled for being your math tutor." That's when I realized every Tuesday he wasn't teaching me algebra. He was spending the only hour each week he got to be my dad. And every time he said, "I'm proud of you," he wasn't talking to a student. He was talking to his son.
Yo, these stories are fire. These are definitely not real, but these are fire.
He handed me a black envelope. Inside was enough money that my mom would never have to work again. He
What? In an envelope? How much money is in there?
said, "1 job, that's all." I looked down at the envelope.
Okay, any job. I'll do any
Then
job.
I remembered every night I ate cup ramen alone. My mom wouldn't get home until after midnight. She
Jeez.
worked 3 jobs just to keep the lights
Jeez.
on. A year earlier, my dad stood at our front door. He looked at my mom, then at me, and said, "I'm going to fix this." Then he left. A year passed, still no calls, no letters, nothing. One afternoon, everyone at school was opening the new Pokemon packs. I asked
W Pokemon.
my mom if I could have one too. She smiled. "We'll see." The next morning, one was waiting on my desk. I ran
Hey!
downstairs to thank her, but she was already gone. I opened the fridge. There was almost nothing inside. That's when I realized she skipped groceries so I could fit in. That day,
Oh
I
my
decided
God.
I'd make enough money so she'd never have to work again.
W,
That
son.
night, 5 of us drove through an empty street. One of them pulled out a zip tie, then pointed at me. "Tie his hands." I frowned. "Whose?" "Yours." Before I
What?
could react, they grabbed me. That's when I realized I wasn't part of the mission. I was the mission. Before anyone could move, gunshots echoed through the street. The man beside me dropped. Then another. Then another. Within seconds,
You're cooked.
I was the only one left.
You're
Heavy
cooked.
footsteps echoed toward me. A man stepped out of the darkness, his face hidden. He cut the zip ties off my wrists.
That's your
A
dad.
black envelope fell from my pocket. His shoulders dropped. "They gave you one too." I stared at him. "How do you know what this is?" He slowly pulled down his mask. "Dad?" He closed his eyes. "I was supposed to come home tomorrow." Then headlights appeared at the end of the street. He glanced behind me. They found us. He pulled the pistol from his jacket, checked the magazine, then looked back at me. They gave me the same envelope. I left so I could make enough money for our family. When I finished, I told them I was done. They smiled. I thought they were letting me leave. The next morning, I found out they recruited a new kid. His voice began to shake. Then I saw your name. My heart stopped. You were never the new recruit. You were my hostage. They knew I'd never
What?
leave if they had you. So before they could bring you to me, I found them first. Car doors started slamming shut, one after another. He tore the envelope in half. "Go. What about you?" He looked at me. "I left so you and your mom could have a better life. I'm not letting them take that away." He pushed me toward the alley. I turned back. "Dad!" He smiled
No!
and raised his pistol. A week later, someone knocked on our front door. My mom opened it and couldn't move. She thought she was seeing a ghost. My dad had finally come home. That night, for the first time in over a year, the 3 of us ate dinner together.
W dad, bro. So the dad was literally gonna hold you hostage. W dad.
He spat out the dumpling. Everyone in the restaurant went silent because this wasn't just anyone. He was the world's most famous competitive eater. And after one bite, he looked at my mom and said, "This is the worst dumpling I've ever had."
Damn.
My mom didn't say anything because deep down, she knew her restaurant was already struggling. Some days we didn't even sell 10 dumplings. But what he didn't know was that this restaurant was the last thing my dad left us. My parents opened this place together. They spent years building it. Every table, every recipe, every corner of the restaurant held a memory of him. But after my dad passed away, my mom kept it running alone. Even when business slowed down, even when it got harder every year, she refused to let go. Then the competitive eater stood up. Before leaving, he pointed at the biggest dumpling on the menu. "I'll make you a deal. If someone here can finish finish that, I'll tell my followers this is the best dumpling shop I've ever been to. But if they fail, you close this place. My mom immediately refused. We're not risking our restaurant. He smirked. I figured, then turned toward the door. Wait, I'll do it. My mom grabbed my arm. You've never done anything like this. I looked.
Oh, W son, save the restaurant.
At the empty tables, then at her. If I don't, we lose anyway. She closed her eyes and then quietly nodded. A giant bamboo steamer was placed in front of me. Inside was one massive dumpling.
10-pound dumpling, by the way.
Started 60 minutes. The first few bites were easy. Then my stomach started fighting back. Every bite was harder than the last.
You got this.
The competitive eater leaned back, smiling. I knew it, but I kept eating. One bite, then another. Soon, only a quarter remained. His smile disappeared. He stood up, walked over, and accidentally knocked my water onto the dumpling. It soaked straight through, making every bite twice as heavy. He shrugged. Oops. My mom reached for the plate. That's enough. Not yet. 5 minutes, 3 bites. 1 minute, 1 bite.
You got
the
this.
Timer started beeping.
Oh no.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I swallowed the final bite. The competitive eater stared at the empty plate, then laughed. Fake. You switched the dumpling. There's no way a kid finished that. Then he stormed out the front door. His cameraman never moved. He looked down at his camera, then said, I got everything. That night, he uploaded the footage, the cheating, the excuses, everything. By the next morning, millions of people had watched a famous competitive eater lose, then blame a kid for cheating. A week later, people lined up around the block. My mom looked out the window. Do you think they're here for the challenge? I looked at the customers walking out, carrying boxes of dumplings. They came for the challenge. They'll come back for your dumplings. He spat.
Hey, W. Yo, these stories are crazy.
My dog wouldn't stop barking at me over and over. I looked at his food bowl, empty. You hungry?
Well, that's probably why there's no food in there. Give him some food.
I filled it. He didn't even look. He just kept barking.
He still kept barking?
That wasn't normal. Every morning before I left for school, Milo waited by the front door. I scratched behind his ears, give him a treat, then he'd watch me leave. He never barked, never tried to stop me until today. He stepped in front of the door, barking. Then he grabbed my sleeve and started pulling. You need to go outside.
What?
I reached for his leash. He ignored it. So I opened the back door. Usually he'd sprint into the yard. This time he didn't move. He just looked at me, then barked again. What do you want? I grabbed his favorite tennis ball, the one he never ignored. I tossed it. It rolled right past him. He didn't even look.
What is going on then?
Instead, he ran down the hallway, stopped outside my mom's bedroom, and barked again. I sighed.
In the bedroom?
My mom always sleeps in. Leave her alone. He barked louder.
I know what the dog is saying. It can read barks. Somebody's in there with your mom. I don't know what they're doing, but someone's in there.
Over. Milo, keep this up and you're not getting treats. But
wow.
He didn't care. He started scratching at our bedroom door hard. I never seen him do that before, so I grabbed his collar and pulled him away. He fought against me harder than he ever had before. The second I let go, he sprinted right back, scratching even harder. He ignored everything. His favorite toy, his favorite treat, nothing mattered except getting me to open that door. Something was wrong. So
exactly.
I opened it. My mom was exactly what she'd always be, still asleep. I smiled. See, I started closing the door. Then I froze. The room was silent, too silent. My mom always snored every morning. Mom? No answer. I stepped closer. Her hand hung over the side of the bed. I picked it up, cold. My heart started racing. I shook her shoulder. Mom? Nothing. I grabbed my phone and called 911. The ambulance arrived minutes later. The doctors rushed her inside. I sat in the waiting room holding Milo's leash, both of us praying she'd be okay. Hours later, a doctor walked out. If she'd got in here even 1 minute later, we couldn't have saved her. I looked down at Milo. He looked back at me, tail wagging. I reached into my pocket and pulled out his favorite treat, the same one he ignored that morning. This time, he took it. I smiled. You deserve it.
W dog, bro. Chad, do you know there's actually like some people who know how to like read what dogs say? I don't know how they do that. It's like, if he barks twice, that means he wants this. Like, what? How do you even know that?
I snorted ramen noodles through my nose for
So why are you doing that then? Why are you snorting ramen noodles through your nose? Who even does that?
I snorted ramen noodles through my nose for the 5th time that week, because once they realized it happened when I laughed, the bullies turned it into a game. They'd hand me food, tell me to eat it, then do everything they could to make me laugh. They all thought I was just some fat kid who couldn't stop eating. What they didn't know was every meal started at home. Every morning before school, I'd cook, taste it, adjust it, taste it again until it was perfect. It had to be, because my mom had been sick for years. The medicine changed how food tasted. If one flavor was even slightly off, she wouldn't eat. So every day I learned exactly how much soy sauce, exactly how much salt, exactly how much sesame oil. Then I'd eat breakfast with her, eat lunch at school, and finish whatever she couldn't. She always smiled and said food shouldn't be wasted. By the end of every day, I'd eaten enough for 2 people. The next
Uh-oh.
Morning, our principal announced, after school, we're holding a cooking competition. First prize, $1,000.
Ooh.
On mom's medicine. I wrote my name down. The bullies saw it and burst out laughing. The fat kid, I guess eating counts as practice. After school, the competition began. I made mom's fried rice. The same fried rice I'd cooked hundreds of times. Halfway through, I turned around to grab another egg. When I looked back, one of the bullies had emptied an entire bag of white powder into my wok.
Oh.
The crowd
How are they gonna allow that?
gasped. Ew, he's putting chemicals in his food. Even the judges started whispering. I picked up the bag, MSG. I couldn't help but smile, because in our house, MSG wasn't the problem. Too much of it was. I tasted the fried rice. Not yet. Too salty, too strong. Most people would have thrown it away, but I'd spent years fixing food before my mom ever took a bite. I grabbed another pan, added more rice, more eggs, more vegetables, then balanced it with soy sauce, sesame oil, and a little garlic. Then
Nice.
a final touch of spring onions. Every
This guy's a professional chef.
ingredient had a purpose, just like my mom taught me. The bullies thought they ruined my dish, but they didn't realize they were testing the exact thing I'd practiced every single day. The judges tasted it, one looked at the others, then back at me. The balance is incredible. Another judge smiled. Who taught you to cook like this? I looked over at the bullies, then answered, eating. The same kids who laughed every lunch couldn't
Look at them. It looks like they made burnt pizza. What is that?
me. Then the judges announced the winner, me. Turns out eating was practice.
W. Bro, these videos are honestly, he's only started 3 weeks ago when he has 52,000 subs. In another month, he's probably gonna have 100,000 subs. These are insane. And, you know, if you're ever watching, maybe you should do a Moroccan story, bro. I would love to react to that. That would be crazy. Anyways, guys, if you guys did enjoy, you guys know, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you, ladies and gentlemen, in the next one. Peace. Love you guys.